You sit down to just a fantastic meal. Maybe it's like your absolute favorite dish, something you've been looking forward to literally all week.
Oh, yeah, the kind of meal you've been thinking about since Tuesday.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And you take just 2 bites, and suddenly, out of nowhere, your stomach feels like you just finished a massive Thanksgiving dinner.
right. Just completely stuffed.
Yeah. And the plate is still practically full, but your body is just screaming at you. It's pulling the emergency brake saying, stop, no more.
It is an incredibly jarring experience
Mm.
because there's this profound disconnect between what you visually see on the plate, which looks totally manageable,
Right?
and the overwhelming physical signal your body is suddenly sending you.
It's so strange, and it's something that happens to a staggering number of people, particularly, as they cross into their 60s. But it feels like nobody is actually talking about it.
No, they really aren't.
So welcome to this deep dive. Today, we are tearing into some really fascinating data from Johns Hopkins, the Mayo Clinic, and Harvard Medical School to figure out why the aging stomach suddenly starts pulling the fire alarm on food.
It's a free topic.
We want to understand the actual biological secret behind this phantom fullness, clear up some dangerous myths, and most importantly, uncover the daily mechanical tweaks you can make to actually bring comfort back to the dinner table.
It is just so important that we bring this out of the shadows because this is usually a very silent shift for people. People don't
Yeah.
complain about it. They just quietly push their plates away. They feel embarrassed, or they assume that their bodies are just failing them in some fundamental way.
Which is completely understandable, honestly. So if you are experiencing this yourself right now, or maybe you're in your 50s and just starting to notice that you can't eat the way you used to without feeling incredibly heavy, this deep dive is for you. Or perhaps you're watching an aging parent slowly lose their interest in family dinners and you just don't know why. Understanding this is an absolute game changer. So let's put a name to this phantom feeling. The medical term is early satiety,
Right, early satiety.
which literally means feeling uncomfortably full after eating only a remarkably small amount of food.
Yeah, and we should probably clarify right away what this is not. Because the most common assumption, and I hear this all the time, is people thinking their stomach is literally shrinking.
Like it's physically getting smaller.
Like it's shriveling up,
Yeah.
Or they think their core appetite is just permanently gone. But that is not the reality at all. The biological mechanics under the hood are, they're just so much more nuanced than that.
So what's actually happening?
What we're actually looking at is a natural slowing down of digestive motility.
Okay, wait, let's unpack motility for a second. That is the actual physical muscle movement that pushes food along through the digestive tract, right?
Yeah.
Like a wave pushing the food down.
Precisely. The whole gastrointestinal tract is lined with smooth muscle. And just like the muscles in your arms or your legs change over the decades, these internal muscles simply contract with a little less strength and a little less speed as we age.
Oh, wow. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, when Johns Hopkins looked closely at this, they noted a measurable decline in smooth muscle efficiency throughout the entire digestive system. And this leads to a condition known as delayed gastric emptying.
Delayed gastric emptying. So in plain terms, the food just stays in the stomach longer before moving into the small intestine.
Exactly, it's a bottleneck.
A bottleneck, right. Because the food is just lingering there in the stomach for longer than it used to, it physically stretches the stomach out, and I'm guessing that stretching is what sends that premature I'm full signal to the brain, even if you've only had, like, a few bites.
That is exactly the mechanism. But, the plot thickens when we look at the hormonal side of this equation.
Oh, there's hormones involved, too.
Yeah, because it's not just the mechanical stretching. There's a specific hormone involved called cholecystokinin, or CCK for short.
CCK, got it.
CCK is essentially the messenger hormone. Its entire job is to travel up to the brain and deliver the message that the stomach is full and it's time to stop eating.
Okay.
What the data shows is that this specific hormone actually becomes highly sensitive with age. It triggers faster, and it signals stronger than it did when you were, say, 30.
So if I'm understanding this right, it is not that the gas tank got smaller. It is that the full sensor is overly sensitive and sending out false alarms, and at the exact same time, the conveyor belt moving the fuel through the system is running on a much lower speed setting.
What's fascinating here is how perfectly that analogy captures the dual nature of the problem. Your sensor is hyperactive, and your conveyor belt is sluggish.
Man, that's a tough combination.
It is. And then, the National Institute on Aging adds a third layer to this, which has to do with something called gastric accommodation.
Gastric accommodation. That sounds like the stomach, making room for guests.
It's pretty close to that, actually. Gastric accommodation is the stomach's natural reflex to relax and physically expand when you take your first few bites of food.
Okay.
Think of a younger stomach like a highly elastic balloon. As soon as food arrives, it just relaxes to accommodate the volume. But as we age, that relaxation response weakens.
So it gets stiffer.
Exactly. The stomach becomes a bit more rigid. So when it doesn't relax properly, the incoming food immediately increases the internal pressure.
Oh, I see where this is going.
Right. That pressure triggers the hypersensitive CCK hormone we just talked about, and boom, that sense of overwhelming fullness hits you like a brick wall.
Wow. And it doesn't even stop there, does it? Because I know the Mayo Clinic data highlighted that reduced stomach acid production is incredibly common after 60.
Yes, very common.
So the food isn't just sitting in a rigid stomach, moving slower. It's also breaking down slower because there isn't enough acid to process it efficiently. That has to add to that heavy brick in the stomach feeling.
It absolutely does. And if you want to add one more piece to the puzzle, we can look at the gut microbiome.
Oh, right, the gut bacteria.
Yeah, researchers at Harvard Medical School have been tracking how the actual bacteria in our digestive tract shift as we age. Those bacteria play a huge role in how efficiently we break down food.
And I'm guessing they get less efficient.
They do. When the microbiome balance shifts toward less efficient bacteria, the digestion speed takes yet another hit.
It really paints a vivid picture, doesn't it? I mean, we've got the muscles, the sensitive hormones, the rigid stomach, the lower stomach acid, and the changing microbiome. But what really strikes me is that these are all gentle, natural shifts. They are working together over decades.
That is the most crucial takeaway from the biology here, really. This is a gradual process spanning a lifetime. It is not a personal failing. It is not a sudden, terrifying illness. It is just the body changing, exactly as it does at every other stage of life.
But because it is so gradual, I can see how easily people misinterpret the signals. I mean, you don't wake up one day and realize all these internal mechanisms have shifted, right?
Yeah, not a
You just realize you can't finish your dinner. And that misunderstanding leads to a whole cascade of effects that can quietly but severely disrupt someone's life.
It really does.
So let's tackle the myths surrounding early satiety, because it seems like the misunderstanding is where the real danger lies.
The myths are incredibly pervasive, and some of them are quite harmful, honestly.
Yeah.
The first, and arguably most common myth, is the idea that feeling full quickly is actually a blessing in disguise.
Oh, interesting.
People think, hey, I'm taking in fewer calories, I'm eating smaller portions, so I must be eating healthier.
Hold on, I have to play devil's advocate here for a second. Isn't eating fewer calories as we get older generally considered a good thing?
Well,
I mean, we aren't as active, our metabolism slows down. We always hear about portion control for weight management and heart health. Why is this suddenly a problem?
It is a critical distinction that often gets completely missed. Eating less because you are intentionally practicing healthy portion control with nutrient-dense food is one thing.
Right.
But eating less because you are abruptly forced to stop by an overly sensitive fullness signal is completely different. When that happens, you aren't just casually cutting a few calories, you are often drastically cutting vital nutrients.
Because you are just stopping mid-meal regardless of what you've actually consumed. Like, you might not have even gotten to the vegetables yet.
Exactly. You are literally starving your body of base-level vitamins, minerals, and proteins that it desperately needs to maintain muscle mass, energy, and, cognitive function.
Oh, wow.
This kind of sudden caloric drop doesn't lead to healthy aging. It leads to nutritional deficits, severe energy crashes, and muscle wasting.
That makes total sense. You might be skipping the extra calories, but you're also skipping the iron, the B12, and the protein.
Precisely.
Which brings us to the second myth, which is that this only happens to sick people. We've thoroughly debunked that. It's just a natural part of the aging conveyor belt.
Right.
And the third myth is this sort of fatalistic idea that you just have to accept it. You just eat less, suffer the discomfort, and assume your foodie days are over. But everything we are looking at points to the exact opposite. This is highly manageable.
It is very manageable. And that ties into the fourth myth, which is the belief that this feeling is purely physical.
What do you mean?
Well, we tend to think of digestion as a machine that operates completely independently of our minds, but the evidence clearly shows that psychological factors like stress, a noisy meal environment, or even just feeling rushed can artificially trigger that fullness signal much faster.
Oh, right, because digestion is linked to the nervous system. If you are stressed, your body is in fight or flight mode, not rest and digest mode. And the broader health impacts of ignoring all this are massive. If someone is struggling with early satiety and just ignoring it, it connects directly to so many other common conditions. For instance, if you are trying to manage your blood sugar, you need steady, consistent eating. You can't just skip meals because you feel too full.
Precisely. And if you were trying to manage blood pressure, reducing the bloating and internal gas that comes from delayed emptying actually helps with overall circulation.
That's a really good point.
Furthermore, comfortable, efficient digestion ensures you are absorbing the nutrients required to prevent early memory changes and brain fog.
I think this is the perfect time to look at one of the stories from the material we reviewed. Let's talk about Sarah. She's 66, living in Ohio.
Sarah's story is a textbook example of how this plays out emotionally. She always loved hosting big family dinners, especially with her grandchildren.
Right.
But over the span of a year or two, she found herself pushing her plate away after just a few bites of her own cooking.
And the heartbreaking part is that she felt deeply embarrassed. I mean, she was sitting at the head of the table, not eating, and she was terrified her family would think something was terribly wrong with her.
Or that she was judging their eating habits, which happens a lot.
Yeah.
So to cope, she started quietly skipping meals altogether. She would just graze on tiny, often unhealthy snacks in the kitchen just to avoid the embarrassment of a formal sit-down dinner.
Just to avoid that uncomfortable rock-in-the-stomach fullness.
Exactly.
Which is so incredibly common. She genuinely thought something was broken inside her. But when she realized it was just her digestion changing its pace, she's able to manage it.
And that's the turning point.
Which brings us to the crucial part of this deep dive. The mechanics of the meal. How do we actually fix this? If the biological conveyor belt is permanently slower, how do we alter the way we eat to change the body's biological response?
It requires a fundamental paradigm shift in how we structure mealtime. The first mechanical solution is adjusting the actual sizing and frequency of meals.
Okay, so what did Sarah do?
Sarah, for example, stopped trying to force down 3 traditional large meals a day. Instead, she shifted to 5 smaller, gentler meals spread throughout the day.
Which makes perfect mechanical sense when you think about it. You are giving that slower stomach less volume to manage at any single time.
Right.
It doesn't have to stretch as much, so it doesn't trigger the sensitive hormone alarm. But it is not just about the size of the meal, it is about how you physically process it. We often forget that digestion doesn't start in the stomach.
It starts in the mouth.
Yes, chewing.
It really does. Chewing thoroughly does an incredible amount of the heavy lifting for the stomach.
Yeah.
Your saliva contains enzymes that begin breaking down carbohydrates immediately.
So you're giving the stomach a head start.
Exactly. If food arrives in the stomach already significantly broken down and liquefied, it demands far less mechanical churning from a smooth muscle system that is, as we know, no longer moving at top speed.
And temperature matters too, right? This is really surprising to me. Warm foods actually support those digestive muscles better than ice-cold foods.
They absolutely do.
Because cold foods can cause the stomach muscles to contract and tighten up, whereas warm foods encourage that gastric accommodation, that relaxation we talked about earlier.
That's spot on.
But here's where it gets really fascinating. Simply changing how and when you drink liquids can entirely bypass that sensitive fullness hormone.
This is perhaps the easiest mechanical fix to implement, honestly. Many of us are in the habit of drinking large glasses of water or iced tea during a meal.
Oh yeah, constantly reaching for the glass.
But if you drink large amounts of liquid while you eat, you are filling the stomach prematurely. You are physically stretching that rigid stomach with fluid instead of nutrient-dense food.
Ah, so the fluid triggers the alarm.
Yes, that triggers the fullness signal before you've taken in enough actual calories or vitamins.
So the trick is to hydrate between meals. Maybe drinking a glass of water 30 minutes before you eat, but keeping sips to an absolute minimum while chewing.
Exactly. Keep the stomach volume reserved for the nutrients.
And if that liquid is carbonated, like a soda or sparkling water, forget about it. You are literally pumping extra bloating gas into a system that is already struggling to move things along.
It's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
We also have to talk about the fat factor, because the macronutrients you choose really dictate the speed of the conveyor belt.
How so?
Well, biologically, fat takes the longest of any nutrient to leave the stomach. It requires the most acid and the most effort to break down.
Which perfectly brings up the story of Michael. He's 72, from Texas.
Yeah.
A lifelong steak and potatoes guy.
A classic case.
Yeah, he prided himself on his hearty appetite. But when he started hitting that wall and feeling uncomfortably full after just 2 bites of brisket, He got really depressed.
He assumed his taste buds were dying with age or that his body was just giving up.
But the reality was entirely mechanical. His heavy, deep-fried meals and high-fat cuts of meat were completely stalling his digestive conveyor belt.
Completely.
The fat was sitting in his stomach for hours, triggering a prolonged, miserable sense of fullness that ruined his next meal, too.
And the beauty of it is that he didn't have to give up the flavors he loved. He didn't have to suddenly start eating bird food.
Haha, right.
He just shifted toward grilled and baked preparations. He swapped out the heavy saturated fats for lighter options, and by removing that specific bottleneck, he got his comfort and his appetite back.
That is huge. But this raises an important question, though. If fried, heavy fats stall the conveyor belt, what foods act as the grease for the gears? Like, how can we proactively help the stomach empty faster?
It's a great question, and it brings us right to the dietary toolkit.
Yes, let's get into the dietary toolkit. Instead of just listing things off, I noticed a distinct pattern in the data. It seems like the solutions basically fall into two camps. We have foods that do the heavy lifting for the stomach, and we have foods that actively soothe and relax the system.
That is a brilliant way to categorize them. Let's look at the soothers first. Ginger is a powerhouse here.
Oh, ginger, yeah.
It isn't just an old wives' tale for a stomach ache. It biologically stimulates motility and improves blood circulation in the digestive tract, actively helping the stomach empty its contents faster.
And fennel works in a very similar way, right?
It does.
It has been used for centuries to ease bloating, but it physically relaxes the smooth muscles of the digestive tract, allowing trapped gas to dissipate.
Right, it's an incredible relaxant.
And peppermint, particularly steeped as a warm tea, is fantastic for easing that overly full sensation. Plus, it has the added benefit of supporting better sleep if you drink it in the evening.
Then we have what you call the heavy lifters, the foods that do the stomach's job for it. Papaya is a perfect example.
Oh, I wouldn't have guessed papaya.
Yeah, it contains a natural enzyme called papain. Papain literally cleaves protein bonds apart. So if you eat papaya, that enzyme is doing the mechanical breakdown of proteins before the food even hits the lower intestine, drastically reducing the stomach's workload.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
And we can't forget plain yogurt with live active cultures. This directly harnesses the Harvard data regarding the shifting gut microbiome.
Exactly, replenishing the good bacteria.
By introducing efficient, healthy bacteria back into the system, you're basically upgrading the workers on the assembly line. Plus, it's a really gentle way to get calcium for bone health.
Exactly. And for the everyday staples, the key is really the preparation. Vegetables are vital, but a pile of raw, fibrous broccoli is incredibly demanding on an older stomach.
It's just too much work for the muscles.
Right. The solution is cooking them until soft. Soft carrots and zucchini are infinitely easier for a slower system to process.
Same goes for warm oatmeal. It's incredibly gentle, it's warm, so it relaxes the stomach and it supports blood sugar.
Yes.
And ripe bananas provide dense nutrition and potassium for heart health, but they essentially mash themselves up. Mashing, blending, making warm soups. You are essentially pre-digesting the food mechanically.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, what's fascinating is the beautiful duality of these choices. Well, these dietary interventions don't just solve the immediate mechanical issue of early satiety. They offer secondary benefits perfectly tailored for the specific health priorities of this age group.
Oh, I see.
You are getting bone health from the yogurt, blood pressure support from the fennel, sleep aid from the peppermint, and heart health from the bananas.
It's a cascade and positive effect instead of a negative one. Kind of like Jennifer, a 63-year-old from Florida we read about.
Yes, Jennifer's case was wonderful.
She was absolutely miserable at dinner parties, but she simply combined warm soups, consciously slow chewing, and much smaller portions. She noted that for the first time in years, she finally felt present at the table again.
That's the real victory.
Yeah, she was actually engaging in the conversation instead of just being distracted by her own physical discomfort.
Which is the ultimate goal, isn't it? Getting your quality of life back. But we've fixed the mechanics and we've adjusted the ingredients. There is one final piece to this puzzle, and it is all about timing and lifestyle habits.
The body clock. This was a total light bulb moment for me. Why does this feeling of overwhelming fullness always seem to strike hardest at dinner? Like, why is breakfast usually fine, but dinner is such a struggle?
It comes down to circadian rhythms. Just like your brain has a clock that tells you when to sleep and wake up, your gut has a clock.
Really?
Yes, human digestion naturally slows down later in the day. The motility we talked about is robust in the morning and sluggish in the evening. So a large dinner is biologically going to feel far heavier than the exact same meal eaten at noon.
The solution is wonderfully straightforward then. Just flip your meals, eat your largest, most nutrient-dense meal earlier in the day when your digestive conveyor belt is running at peak capacity.
Exactly. Make dinner the smaller, gentler meal.
It also perfectly explains why holidays are a perfect storm for this condition. Think about it. You have massive, incredibly rich, high-fat meals, and we usually eat them late in the afternoon or evening.
It is asking a slower aging system to run a marathon at the end of the day when it's already tired. It's just too much.
But alongside the timing of the meal, what you do immediately after you eat plays a massive role too, right?
Yes, posture and movement. Sitting upright lets gravity naturally assist the stomach in emptying.
And the data strongly points to a 5 to 10 minute slow, relaxed walk after eating as a massive boost to digestive motility.
We see this clearly in the story of Robert, who is 68. He felt he was losing his evenings to this heavy discomfort.
Just stuck on the couch.
Exactly. But by simply combining smaller dinner portions with a gentle 10-minute evening walk around his neighborhood, he mechanically stimulated his digestion. He was able to enjoy his evenings again without spending hours bracing himself on the couch.
Another brilliant tip I saw is keeping an awareness journal. Just keeping a small notebook by the kitchen table to track which foods or even which social situations trigger that rapid fullness.
It's incredibly helpful.
It takes maybe 2 weeks to spot the patterns. You might realize, oh, it's not all meat, it's just pork. Or I only feel this way when I'm arguing with my spouse at the table.
The stress factor again.
Right. Which brings me to a question I have to ask on behalf of everyone listening right now. Does this feeling ever fully go away? Like, can you cure it?
It is a question that requires honesty. The underlying biological changes, the slowing of the smooth muscles, the rigid gastric accommodation, the sensitive hormones, that is a natural life stage.
So it's permanent.
That biological reality remains. You can't reverse the clock. But does the discomfort go away? Absolutely yes.
That's the important part.
By making these mechanical and dietary adjustments, the discomfort becomes dramatically more manageable. You aren't fighting a disease, you are simply learning a new rhythm to dance to.
So what does this all mean? Let's summarize this massive paradigm shift. That heavy Thanksgiving dinner feeling after just 2 bites isn't a shrinking stomach, and it certainly isn't a failing body.
Not at all.
It is simply a highly sensitive fullness hormone and a slower digestive conveyor belt asking you for a gentler approach.
Exactly. It is about aligning your daily habits with your current biology rather than fighting against it.
And for you listening, whether it is shifting from 3 heavy meals to 5 smaller ones, opting for warm, soothing foods over cold, chewing just a little bit more thoroughly, or taking a 10-minute stroll after dinner, these small daily tweaks can quite literally give you or your parents the absolute joy of eating back.
And as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with a final, lingering thought based on the mechanisms we've unpacked today.
I'd love to hear it.
We learned earlier that stress, a hurried environment, and rushing can artificially trigger that early fullness signal. We also learned that digestion biologically begins in the mouth and is deeply tied to the nervous system.
Right.
So consider this. Could the simple mindful act of taking 3 deep breaths, calming your nervous system, and consciously savoring the very first bite fundamentally alter your brain's hormone signaling for the rest of the meal?
Oh, wow.
Is it possible that the ultimate digestive aid isn't just what is on the plate, but the physical act of being completely present with it?
That is a fascinating intersection of mindfulness and biology. The next time you sit down to your favorite meal and take those first 2 bites, remember, your body isn't working against you. It is just communicating with you. It might just be asking you to slow down and actually enjoy the moment.